I suppose my passion is that I guess growing up in Melbourne in the suburbs and in Australia in general, you soon realised that sports in our DNA brings the community together, particularly in regional areas. And I think I'm not the first to say it, but sport often replicates what's happening in life. It's about teamwork, it's about challenging yourself, it's about setting goals and achieving them. And it's about not necessarily about victory, but it's about how you carry yourself during the journey. I'd probably say slow down and plan. I think having a roadmap, a pathway to success is really important, and study, and keep that going even when you've completed your degree. I think in my case, I went back and did an MBA in my early 40s with a couple of young kids, and found that pretty challenging. Took me 5 years. So I think ongoing study and planning. I think the most rewarding aspect is seeing people achieve, and particularly seeing them achieve outside of their their comfort zone, or outside of the boundaries that they'd perhaps set themselves, or in my case working in the disability and inclusion field, seeing people challenge some of the boundaries that society set for them, even if it's in terms of mobility, or their capability to achieve success through sport. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned is to consult, and by that I mean to listen, and listen again, and also recognising that anything that you achieve as a leader is really dictated and reliant upon how good your team is, and I think Richard Branson said, look after your staff and they'll look after your business, and that's exactly what I've learned, that you're only as good as your team, and credit should only ever be accepted or received as a team. I think I look for flexibility. I think it's very important for people who are looking to progress their career to want to be flexible in how they approach, and that often can't be described in a position description 100%. So yeah, flexibility, and I also look for determination. I quite often ask people what their greatest achievement in life is to date, and sometimes I get some interesting answers. People might say, oh, I won the local golf competition last year, etc. But I'm really looking for something like, I'm so proud of my family and what my children, what they achieve daily, that kind of thing. And empathy. I think I'm a big believer that empathy is something that necessarily can't be taught. It's almost an innate personal quality, and those who have it often succeed. Volunteerism is waning slightly. I think the Sports Commission did some research a couple of years ago to show that there was less desire for volunteers to put their hand up these days, particularly with some of the compliance requirements, working with children, disability register, national police checks, etc. Absolutely, volunteers are key to any not-for-profit sports club, particularly. But they're also key to a successful professional sporting organisation as well, because in sport it's all about the supporters, or the fans, or the members, and I think sometimes at the elite level that can get lost and not translated back down to the grassroots, and the grassroots will always drive the culture, so that through volunteerism and community engagement, absolutely, I think any sport, whether it's the President's Cup golf tournament at Royal Melbourne, an AFL club, or a national sporting team, needs to have a healthy mix of volunteers to keep them grounded and mindful of their purpose. Look, I think obviously compliance and governance is a huge part of not only in corporate business but in sport particularly. So I see that there'll be a need for managers in sport to remain up to date and relevant and well versed in the language of compliance and governance. And I also believe that strategic planning is essential. However, it often doesn't translate into action items. So I think that there'll be more focus on the planning side of things and how that is put into action. Obviously, technology is going to play a huge part in everything from first-time beginners, right through to elite, an athlete, and that whether that's through things like immersion rooms, virtual reality, body motion tracking, etc. So I think particularly for training, practice and skills-based things, I think that technology will play a large part of that. So managers will need to, again, stay current, stay relevant, and then that feeds into how we communicate, whether through social media, particularly. There's a lot of common threads, particularly having worked in Hong Kong at the Hong Kong Cricket Club and Marylebone Cricket Club at Lords, especially, all the way down through to grassroots golf clubs and my local AFL club. So I think the sporting clubs, again, I'll go back to that membership base, that the members are the shareholders. I think clubs are particularly a little bit more tribal. So there's symbolism, there's ritual, there's tradition, there's often tribes within the tribe. So there's politics, etc. Now that happens at corporate as well, but it's probably more structured. Clubs are a little bit more organic, and even though they operate in a commercial model, they are driven and underpinned by that tribalism. I think particularly the well-being piece, to have people understanding that they can work flexible hours, that the whole clock on, clock off scenario traditionally is not applicable, particularly with us at Disabled Winter Sport, where we have a seasonal operation, and sometimes days are long, other times days are short because of weather. So what we've done is we've introduced, we look at some key areas around well-being, and that's based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, actually. And the first one is safety. So we make sure that our team have really excellent and appropriate PPE and safety gear and uniform items. That's key, and that demonstrates that we do care as an employer and as a team member. We care about each other. We have live reporting capability, so logging of incidents, near misses, any accidents is done in real time, and then they're prioritised as such. Risk assess matrix so that people feel safe during work, and then we've introduced some things like subsidised yoga and Pilates programs. In fact, we try and do yoga sessions before we have our team meetings, that kind of thing. And then we have an opportunity, we do regular engagement, face-to-face, telephones, rather than emailing or formalised meetings. So it's the sort of the "Are you okay?" philosophy, and we realise that when you employ somebody and you work with them, you're not just employing them, you're actually employing their family as well, because work often dictates the rest of a large chunk of your life as well. So we have a partner recognition kind of program where we get partners out for dinner, we recognise their birthdays, and we say thank you for allowing your partner to come and be part of our team for what is essentially the majority of their working week. For me, I have a bit of a mobility issue, so walking's difficult. So I'm a cyclist. Yeah, I love getting out on the bike. And for me, that's, you know, got to be a regular thing. I think meditation is something that I'm getting better at doing, and I know that everyone from a lot of elite athletes to high-flying corporate CEOs are looking at meditation. Just having that little bit of a power down, particularly in the afternoons, just for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Southern European siesta style, kind of, let's just take a break, you know, I'll be back in 20. So that's really helpful. And I also think not worrying about things that you can't control.